This is 3 News Daily.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Daily on this Wednesday, February 22nd. I'm Stephanie Haney here with your top stories from around Northeast Ohio. And we start off in Lake County this afternoon, where Eastlake City Council President John Myers has been charged in a sex trafficking sting. The sting was run by the Lake County Sheriff's Office and Wickliffe Police Department in partnership with the Northeast Ohio Human Trafficking Task Force. 5 other men were arrested in the sting, according to Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost. Those are the men that you're looking at here. Myers has represented Eastlake's Ward 2 since 2016 and now faces a 3rd-degree misdemeanor charge of soliciting. He could spend 60 days in jail if convicted. Now in Cleveland, an ex-firefighter was back in court today to be sentenced for shooting and killing his roommate. Kevin McCarthy will spend the next 6 years behind bars for the 2022 shooting death of Christian Kilberg, which McCarthy claims was an accident. Last month, McCarthy pleaded guilty to a charge of reckless homicide with a firearm specification. We live streamed his sentencing hearing this morning, and that's up on WKYC.com. To East Palestine now, where former President Donald Trump will be visiting with residents today to talk about the train that derailed while carrying a dangerous chemical. Now, experts question whether regulations Trump repealed during his presidency could have prevented or at least lessened the impact of the train derailment in East Palestine. He wrote on the social media platform Truth Social that he plans on meeting with community members to hear their growing concerns. Earlier this week, we asked Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg about how he felt about Trump's visit to East Palestine, and here's what he told us.
I'll just say this, one thing I learned early on in my time as a mayor dealing with a lot of disasters is that there's 2 kinds of people who show up when there's a disaster. The folks who are there with a specific job to do and with action that's going to make a difference, and then folks who want to look good. And I'll let people make their own decisions.
Now, Buttigieg says that he plans on going to East Palestine tomorrow to meet with impacted residents and also personally check in on how the U.S. Department of Transportation's investigation on the derailment is shaking out. Meanwhile, on Twitter last night, President Joe Biden assured residents that teams from the CDC and FEMA have been deployed to the area. He says they'll stay there for as long as they have to. His Twitter thread ended with a promise to the community that they will get whatever resources they need to recover from this disaster. And tomorrow in East Palestine, residents will have the opportunity to further voice their concerns during a community meeting at 6 p.m. Now, for the rest of this week, our 3 News team will be on the scene to keep you up to date on any developments. And now we have an update for you on the explosion in Oakwood Village that happened on Monday. 7 of the 13 people injured in Monday's blast at I. Schumann and Company are now home from the hospital. Now, we're not sure about the condition of the other 6 people who were also injured. State fire marshals are still investigating the cause of the explosion. For now, investigators are calling it an industrial accident. Now, a new image has been released showing what investigators think missing Cleveland woman Ashley Summers would look like today. Yesterday would have been Ashley's 29th birthday. She disappeared when she was just 14 years old. She was last seen in July of 2007 on the west side of Cleveland. Now, if you recognize this picture or know anything about the disappearance of Ashley Summers, please let authorities know. Tips can be submitted by calling the FBI at 216-522-1400. The Cleveland Division of Police Detective Bureau at 216-623-5118, or Crime Stoppers at 216-252-7463. You can send a tip in anonymously, and Crime Stoppers is also offering reward money for information that leads to finding Ashley or information leading to the successful identification of the people responsible for her disappearance. Now, in just 2 days, the world will mark 1 year since Russia invaded Ukraine. Here at home, Senator Sherrod Brown and others spoke at the Ukrainian Museum Archives in Cleveland about where the war stands now. Our Isabel Lawrence reports.
Here they're loading it.
Inside the Ukrainian Museum Archives in Cleveland Tuesday, the country's history, art, and culture was on full display.
And there's the design.
Whoa.
Nearly 1 year since the war began, Ohioans, including Senator Sherrod Brown, are making sure the conflict in Ukraine is not forgotten.
I mean, really all over Ohio, but the Ukrainian community nationally
Ukrainian Americans have clearly stood up.
Dr. Taras Malay has put his work at university hospitals on hold, volunteering full-time with the Cleveland Maidan Association to collect and send medical supplies to Ukraine.
And they're on the phone and says, yeah, we're short on this or we're short on that.
Doing what he can for his parents' home country and for his colleagues overseas.
Helping other people who need it way more than we do. And I think it's just the human thing to do.
No one understands that more than Oksana Dubronos.
To see they just do like terrorists. They bomb civilians' houses, destroy cities.
She and her 2 sons left Ukraine. Her husband stayed behind.
He was in that groups that protected the city. Our city was surrounded, blocked, but not occupied. They didn't enter the city.
For months, she's been living with a host family in Brecksville. In a few weeks, she and her sons will return to Ukraine to reunite with her husband, to a country devastated by war, but one she believes is more united than ever.
We're trying to do our best to win and to survive.
In Cleveland, Isabel Lawrence, 3 News.
It is absolutely wild to think that it has been almost a year since Russia invaded Ukraine, and I will tell you, those Ukrainian people are a case study in resilience. Thank you for that report, Isabel. All right, now, switching gears to something completely different. Maybe you're thinking about changing up how you take your morning coffee. Well, if that's you, good news. Starbucks is adding a new ingredient to some of its coffee drinks that is a little unusual. The chain is launching an oleato line of drinks. They'll be infused with olive oil. And the idea comes from Starbucks outgoing CEO Howard Schultz's trip to Italy, where he saw people drinking olive oil every day. So this lineup will include an olive oil infused cafe latte, iced shaken espresso, and cold foam. You gotta wait a little bit though. The drinks are launching in the US in the spring, so that's when you can put that in your Starbucks order. All right, now for our question of the day. Apparently digital cameras are making a comeback with the young people. Who knew? So here's what we want to know. What would make you want to use a digital camera instead of the camera on your phone? Post your comment to the WKYC Facebook page and we'll talk about it during What's New at 4 o'clock. I have to say, I'm not against the idea of a separate digital camera. It might make my phone run a little faster without all those photos on it. It would be harder for sending photos and sharing them instantly with people and then posting them to social media and that kind of thing. But if the digital camera were small enough and it had a lot of storage, I might be converted. I'll be interested to see your answers on this. All right, thanks for being here with us for today's edition of 3 News Daily. We'll see you back tomorrow with one of your top stories from Northeast Ohio.